Hello and welcome back to Shapeshifter's Den, a place where we discuss all things related to self-transformation through conscious movement. It feels good to be back. I've been away from the channel for some time now. I've been pursuing some other projects, as well as my own mindful movement practice, and helping a lot of clients with their own mindful movement practices. And during that time, I've continued to receive a lot of questions, especially from viewers, and one recently in particular keeps popping up, and that is, how do I train for survival situations? So in this video, we'll be exploring this question, as well as what I consider the main reason for it becoming a concern in most people's minds. That reason being the human zoo. The human zoo is a term that gets thrown around the modern natural movement community quite a bit nowadays. It's mainly used to describe the human systems we live in, the socio-economic, educational systems that we live by that tend to keep us separated from our species' more natural origins. In a sense, even though these systems have given us a number of things, they've also made us weak and soft in comparison with our ancestors. We've forgotten what it takes to actually survive outside of human-built systems. We've been tamed and domesticated. And when first making this realization, a lot of people tend to wonder, well, what would I do if these systems collapsed? Either temporarily or permanently for any reason. What would I do if these systems could no longer sustain me? Well, the answer is you would either survive or you wouldn't. Your ability to survive would be based on how much experience you had outside the system, or perhaps how much you had prepared, how fit you are, and the skill sets you possess. The skills needed to survive inside the modern human zoo are completely different than the skills needed to survive outside of it. For instance, in modern human systems, pretty much everything revolves around the use of money. You're going to need money in order to buy food, shelter, clothing, even healthcare and entertainment. And the overall fitness requirements are extremely low. And if for some reason you have trouble operating within these systems, there are often social safety nets, which can keep you alive and keep your basic needs met. In contrast, living outside of modern human systems requires skills that are going to provide you with your own food, water, shelter, clothing, and even the self-defense of you and your family. You're also going to need to be fully present in your environment with a high level of mental awareness, including self-awareness, which really helps you with your social awareness and understanding others, which is extremely important in most survival situations. Humans are social animals and we tend to survive much better in groups. And to form groups within survival situations, you've got to be able to trust other people and be trustworthy yourself. So back to the question of how does one train for survival situations? Well, since it's impossible to know exactly which survival situation you may run into in the future, it's hard to adapt your body to its specific demands. However, there are many movement patterns which have been used universally all across human history because they're functional, they're efficient, and they perform tasks which commonly need utilized during survival situations. It would be my recommendation that you start to switch over to some of these patterns, and if you get the chance to actually go outside and use these patterns in very natural environments. But even if you can't do that, you can take these natural movements and bring them to the gym. For instance, the deadlift, when done properly, is a great movement pattern for building usable strength in the legs, hips, and back. However, we rarely need to lift a bar in survival situations, so consider switching from a bar to something which can put greater adaptive demands on the body, such as a sandbag or slosh pipe, both of which are constantly shifting their mass and are much more difficult to grip. Rows, another common gym exercise, are often performed seated on a cable machine. While this has its benefits and it's great for building upper back strength, it is unlikely that you will utilize this movement pattern in this way in actual life. More than likely, the row will be used to pull or drag an object and will require you to stand in a functional power stance. The T-bar row is good for building row strength in this type of a stance. However, in the T-bar row, both hands must pull together. A more natural variation would be some kind of a rope pull, or even adding a rope grip to the cable machine and rowing with one arm while in a functional power stance. As long as the core is rotated towards the pole, it will mimic the hand-over-hand movement of a natural rope pull. However, when the opportunity does present itself, it's still best to train outside. A weekend camping trip with physical activities planned is often a great way to test your ability to physically adapt to the natural environment. Within city environments, parkour is an exceptional way to build highly functional survival movement patterns as well as mental presence. Also consider that most movement patterns performed in actual life are done at a relatively low intensity, with significantly fewer patterns requiring greater intensity and still fewer requiring very high intensity. In my experience, the body seems to respond much better to physical training when the intensity mimics this pattern. For instance, you're more likely to need good form and muscular stamina when chopping wood than the ability to do one chop with maximum intensity. Well, that's about it for today. If you're interested in training your body for survival fitness, but still need further guidance to get started, consider supporting the channel by purchasing the Shapeshifters Survival Patterns poster, an 18 by 24 inch poster with 30 survival patterns divided into 6 categories to help you wrap your mind around this type of training and get started on your own program. The link will be down below in the description box. If you have any other questions, comments, or recommendations you'd like to share, please feel free to put them below in the comments section. Best of luck with your movement practice. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep moving, everyone.